All right. Well, that was a good. I feel like that was a good start. Let's talk about what I think would be invaluable to a lot of these younger athletes. As a college coach, as a head coach, talk about just kind of like an overview, a 30,000 foot view level. What is the recruitment process like? How has that evolved over the last, I don't know, 5 to 10 years? Maybe how social media impacted it, maybe. Um, and then we can get into kind of like the nitty gritty of what should athletes really be thinking about whenever they're trying to go to college and represent a school. Um, yeah, talk me through that process for a second.
Yeah, so I've been head coach now at Brigham Young for 10 years. When I first came in 2015, it was bananas. Like, you were going after eighth graders, and you had to be a top level 10 in the eighth grade going into the ninth grade to be recruited. And you'd go to the junior nationals, and the entire country was over at the junior side
Right.
watching the juniors. No one was at the seniors watching the seniors. They were forgotten. And it was one of those things where they were pushing those kids so hard and so fast. And yes, they were doing those high level skills at that young age. Um, and then there's always a growth period, and you tend to lose strength, and you grow, and you're in a new spatial body, and you're bumping into things, and you lose your skills. So there's a regression, and then you're just hoping that they can hang on and pull out and get those skills back. So you're almost like projecting, this is where they're at now. We know we were going to have skill reduction. Are they going to be able to get it back by the time they are junior or senior in high school? And that's kind of what it seemed like it was in 2015, 2016, even 2017. Around the time of about COVID is when things really changed.
Oh, wow.
And the NCAA started putting in some parameters about when you could recruit kids. So there's always a ban on coaches reaching out to kids early. Like, I couldn't pick up the phone and call a recruit. That would be an illegal recruiting act.
Right.
But I could call the coach and say, hey, you got this great gymnast. Why don't you have her call me tonight? I'll be home around 7 o'clock, and I'll just be by my phone. So you were working through the coaches to have these athletes call you.
Right.
And I'm sure these club coaches hated it, right? Now they're playing manager to these young students. But you had to play the game.
Yeah.
And NCAA came in and said, stop. We're not going to let you communicate with anyone who's a sophomore and younger. Just stop. No more recruiting these kids. And if they call you, you'd have to, the first thing you said, what year of school are you? You ninth grader? Are you a 10th grader? Sorry, we can't have a recruiting conversation. Good luck this season. Wait to talk to you after your sophomore year, type of a thing. So now things have settled, and I think for the better. So now the rule is you can't call these kids until June 15th after their sophomore year. And it's just chilled everything out. Now you go to the JO Nationals, and these young kids are still developing, they're still learning, they're still growing, but I think at a much more reasonable pace. And where are all the college coaches? Now they're now at the senior side watching those seniors. So it's been a big shift in the last 10 years for the better. And then the other rule that's been a big rule was you couldn't bring these kids on official visits until they were seniors in high school. But they've already committed to you. So you would call a family up and you'd say, hey, we want to get to know you. We want to show you our campus, but we need you to pay for it. And now we can pay for it. We can pay for a mom and a dad and a gymnast to come out to your campus. They can spend 48 hours on your campus. You can pay for their lodging. You can pay for their food, a little bit of entertainment. We try to get them into either gymnastics meet or a football game or a basketball game and kind of experience what it's like to be a student athlete on our campus, and then send them home. That's a great change, that these parents now don't have to fit the bill for gymnastics lessons, for a competition schedule. Oh, and I got to get my daughter to all these different colleges. So that's a good thing. So those visits will start August 1st and later after when they start their junior year of high school.
And then when it comes to, one second, I'm going to make this just a little higher. When it comes to the actual, in your mind, what comes first? Is it like the prerequisite in your mind is like, I'm gonna see great gymnastics kind of like from like, is that more so just like a non-starter, like the great gymnastics is gonna be there? What are you looking at after you see the great gymnastics? When you call the coaches, what are you asking about when it comes to the athletes that you're interested in? I ask that more so that athletes watching this can start to think about how to think about themselves when training, right? Because I think a lot of athletes that I've worked with, they want the Yurchenko full. They want the Yurchenko full and a half. And they think that once they get it, that's it. Once I get it, I'm gonna be able to call somebody. Somebody's gonna call me. And oftentimes, if it doesn't happen, they get confused. And I try to talk about who you are as a person is going to matter just as much once you get the skills that you need. One of the big conversations that I have with my athletes is you have to become a problem solver. You have to think about yourself as a problem solver for these schools, because they are trying to problem solve their own things in their own program, whether it's, you know, functional day-to-day life in their program that they're trying to refine, or whether they're just trying to move up the rankings, right? They're trying to solve certain problems that they're facing, and you walking into these conversations being a problem solver for them can be invaluable. So I have that conversation all the time, but from your end, is that a good conversation for me to have with my athletes? How are you thinking about